Dynamite by No One Hero is playing. The camera swooping over and through the crowd as Pyro launches from the entranceway. And we hear from JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. We start with JR. Tonight, we take the final steps towards one of the biggest pay-per-view events on the AEW calendar, All Out. Tonight, you can expect more of the same from All Elite Wrestling. Excalibur, JR tonight, we find out who goes to All Out to compete in the finals of the TNT Championship Tournament. Cody will be in action also for the first time since we returned from being in lockdown for 5 months. Seeing as he doesn't have a match at All Out, he's decided to have it tonight, and I'll be stepping in the ring to ask him a few questions after. JR, alright, well, let's get this show started. So a decent segment, getting 54. Same old for this type of opening, but here we go. So we've got Jeff Cobb up against Pac in one half of the semi-finals of the TNT Championship Tournament. The other half sees Joey Janela up against the Murder Hawk Monster. We also have a number one contenders match between Britt Baker, Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, and also Hangman Page is in action against Rey Fenix. But we start tonight with a segment featuring our champion Jon Moxley. Earlier today, Jon Moxley was seen walking out through the doors of the local police station in which he was taken to after being arrested at Chris Jericho's palatial estate. There is a taxi waiting by, but first he comes up to the camera and says, "Hey Tony, if you're watching this, thank you for paying my bail. I'm coming for you now, Jericho." And Jon Moxley jumps into the waiting taxi and says, "Daly's place." So a great segment. Kicking things off, we see Jon Moxley leaving the police station. He's a free man. What is going to happen when he arrives at Daly's place? We move into the next segment. It's a match. It's one half of the TNT Championship semi-finals, and it's Lance Archer that defeats Joey Janela in 6 minutes 48 by pinfall after a devastating blackout. It gets a 54 this match. The colour commentary was good. Jake Roberts did good work at ringside, being the manager of the Murder Hawk Monster. Lance Archer, though, penalised for a decline in physical ability. Everything else, though, there's that Squash Master attribute. I love seeing that. But yeah, it did its job, and that now puts Lance Archer into the final. He will be at All Out, but who will he be taking on? Will it be Jeff Cobb or Pac in the final? Into the next segment then, it's an angle featuring Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is walking backstage asking staff or anybody that passes by if they have seen Hangman Adam Page. One says he's at the bar over at the Jaguar Stadium. Kenny Omega looks frustrated and heads in that direction. A great segment then, getting a 72. Using that bar that we saw in the Stadium Stampede in real life in a Double or Nothing where Page was drinking. So if you can imagine Kenny Omega having to walk some distance from Daly's place to the stadium bar as well. So there we go. We move into the next segment then, featuring Dustin Rhodes, Wardlow and MJF. Dustin Rhodes is sat inside the AEW office when all of a sudden the door bursts open and in storms Wardlow. Dustin is up straight away and ready to attack, but Wardlow just grabs him by the throat and proceeds to slam him into the wall head first, over and over and over again. Wardlow places him back into the chair, blood starting to trickle on the back of Dustin's head. MJF strolls in, wearing his suit and Burberry scarf. He says to Wardlow, "That's enough, that'll do, big man." And MJF stoops down by Dustin. "I want you to remember this. Remember what the last few days were like before you retired. Sitting in a chair beaten and bruised. If you think this is bad now, wait until Saturday when I embarrass you in front of your family and friends. See you All Out, old fruit." So continuing to be disrespectful is MJF. He's the classic heel. Flavour of the month as well, that attribute. And this segment only got a 61. Brought down, I think, by Wardlow's inability to improvise, but it did its job once again. Moving into the next segment, it was the number one contenders match for the AEW women's title. Who'll be taking on Nyla Rose at All Out? It will be Hikaru Shida, after she overcame Chris Statlander and Dr. Britt Baker DMD in 5 minutes 57, just under 6 minutes after a quick roll-up. So we're going to see what happened at Double or Nothing between Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida at All Out. Nothing seems to be working though for the women's division at the moment, and it's such a pity to see because there's so much potential there. Maybe in a year or a few years' time we'll be where we want to be. Anyway, we're moving to our next segment, and it's Alicia too, who's outside jogging after a recently arrived Jon Moxley. He's here. "John, is it possible to get a word quickly with you?" And he stops in his tracks and says, "Go ahead." And we'll just scroll down here quickly. So she asks, "We've seen the footage of you being released from jail. It's believed that Tony Khan paid your bail. Why is that, and what do you have planned for tonight?" And he replies, "When inside, I got my phone call. Tony and I spoke, and he told me it wasn't a good look for AEW having their champion behind bars. So he gave me the option to either stay in jail and be stripped of my title, or compete against Jericho at All Out with my title on the line. You can fill in the rest. For tonight, me and the Bucks team up again to take on Jericho, Santana and Ortiz. I'm back and pissed off. I'm ready to kick some Inner Circle ass." And he storms off. He swaggers off. And he improvised well throughout this segment. I only got 56, which is a bit disappointing considering that he did well in the earlier segments and last week's segments as well. But 56 is quite disappointing for Jon Moxley. But we move into the next one, and both Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn sit side by side. "Growing up in Brooklyn had its ups and downs. It teaches you how to be tough, to take anything. It's a rough neighbourhood out there. There was always peer pressure. It's a big thing. I always got questioned why I want to do this. Why do this fake stuff? These past few weeks is why." Mark Quinn: "We've now defeated the Young Bucks, one of the best tag teams this business has ever seen, twice. We've beaten two big players from Chris Jericho's Inner Circle, and now it's got us a chance to become #1 contenders for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. At All Out, we'll step into the ring to face SCU, a great team, a team I can't help but admire for a chance to become #1 contenders, but this is the closest we've ever been, and we're not going to stop now." So this was put together, as you can imagine, sat in a room, mood lighting and all that, and it just got a 54, which is okay, I suppose, which allows us to go into the next segment, which sets up the bout between Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc, a rematch of what we saw on AEW Dark, and it was Darby Allin that defeats Havoc yet again within 7 minutes 32 by pinfall with a coffin drop. I set this one, the Road Agent notes to hardcore, and well, you can see the segment rating. It got 71. Really happy with that, and it didn't go on too long either, although it does say that segment rating was capped due to the actual length of it. But it does make me wonder now what the rating would have been if I bumped that to, let's say, 12-13 minutes. Well, anyway, after the match, Darby Allin picks up his skateboard and is ready to leave the ring when Vanguard 1 swoops in. A hologram plays. It's broken. Matt Hardy: "Master Allin, I see you came to Dynamite. Yes, the battlefield that is All Out has been chosen. It is ready for two great warriors to enter. You and I will meet at All Out, Master Allin, in a match of tables. The vessel that is Matt Hardy has plenty of history with those, and so do I. Damascus. They are a creation that has been around for centuries. I look forward to our showdown, Master Allin." Darby Allin, with skateboard in hand, swings it at Vanguard 1, smashing it to pieces. He looks down at the mess and walks off. I felt we needed something to really catapult this feud, and I think smashing Vanguard 1, something so big. We saw what happened with the Inner Circle and Vanguard 1, and I think, we're just going to play off that now with Darby Allin and Matt Hardy. Anyway, we move into the next segment. It's SCU this time, talking about their #1 contenders match. Scorpio Sky starts with SCU and Private Party, the embodiment of the tag team division here in AEW, with a perfect example of what it's all about. With two teams that know what it takes to be successful, but the only difference is we've gone the distance. We've already won the tag titles here in AEW. They haven't. Frankie Kazarian. We were the first ever tag champs here in AEW, and I have done nothing but think about that loss to Omega and Page since we lost those titles. I've wanted nothing more than to right that wrong. All Out, we will beat Private Party. We will become number one contenders, and whether it be Hangman Page and Omega or Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fénix, we will become AEW World Tag Team Champions once again. I've worked hard to be here, to be in AEW, to be teaming with someone like Frankie. It won't all be for nothing. It won't go to waste. I won't let it. So slightly better than Private Party's little promo about SCU. Scorpio Sky and Frankie got the crowd, worked the crowd well, using the freedom to improvise to their advantage. Up next then is Cody's match. As we heard earlier on from Tony Schiavone, Cody decided to have his match that he should have had at All Out here tonight, and it's up against Jungle Boy. We saw them have a match in real life for the TNT Championship. It was brilliant. Loved seeing it, and I thought, let's see if we can replicate it in this segment. And it went 10 minutes 13. Cody picking up the win after a beautiful disaster. Segment rating was penalised for odd face heel combination, although it is set to be loosely enforced, having heels go up against them, but it's what it is. And we move into the next segment. Tony Schiavone steps in the ring as Cody's still celebrating. Tony Schiavone has a mic in hand. Alright, Cody, what a win for you here tonight. Last week you mentioned you didn't have a match at All Out. What can we expect from you then Saturday night? All Out, one of the biggest pay-per-views, if not the biggest here in AEW, and it doesn't feature myself. Yeah, that hurt to begin with, but I've made my peace with it. I'm happy. I've just had one hell of a match with one of AEW's best young talents, Jungle Boy. Both get interrupted by a quick burst of static. They think nothing of it and carry on. As I was saying, at All Out, I will be sat alongside Tony Khan backstage and we'll be there to help some of the... Again, another quick burst of static, but this time followed by the words on the Tron. I know your anger. I know your dreams. I'll see you at All Out, Cody. Tony Schiavone looks around, confused and baffled. And that ends the segment. Cody benefit from having a groundswell of public support. Just got a 63. Considering Cody's promo in the first episode that I did here on TEW, which got an 85, was it, if I remember correctly? That's a bit disappointing. I had both of them on microphone. Cody's quite good on the microphone, so I'm not sure why that's down to 63. And there were no negatives in the dirt sheet, so who knows. Anyway, Kenny Omega finds Hangman Page sat at the bar drinking beer. Hangman Page sees him and rolls his eyes without Kenny seeing. Kenny Omega, hey man, look, last week, what happened, dude? Where were you? I needed you. Hangman Page doesn't answer, just shakes his head and continues swigging from his bottle of Bud. Kenny persists. Look, let's just forget it. Let's move on, and hey, I hope you're ready for your match tonight against Rey Fénix. I need you What gave you the right to accept Death Triangle's offer? I never agreed to putting our titles on the line at All Out. Hangman Page slams his empty bottle down and storms off. Kenny Omega looks thoughtful. Ooh, so tension building between the tag champions in Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Where was Hangman last week though? Got a great segment rating, 72, after Kenny Omega, I should say, found Hangman at the bar drinking ahead of his match tonight against Rey Fénix. So, coming up soon is my first pay-per-view on TEW 2020. I'm really looking forward to this. It's AEW All Out, and we'll be live in Chicago, Illinois. Make sure you don't miss this. I'm so excited to get it out for you guys, to get it uploaded here to YouTube, and that follows into the next segment. It's just a quick one. It's a video package showing the match card for All Out this Saturday. Don't miss it. Got a 62 as we included the World Championship storyline, the Tag Team Championship storyline, the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful set to face off. And we move into our next match after that, and it's a good match between Pac and Jeff Cobb, and it's Pac that overcomes the powerful Jeff Cobb in 9 minutes 43 by pinfall after a shooting star leg drop. It got a 62. I wanted them to go a bit more in this match, but we were done to time constraints really. Maybe we'll look to work something between a bit more of a program between Jeff Cobb and Pac at some point. But again, just like the Lance Archer match, it did its job, and it's Pac that advances through. So Pac with an in-ring performance of 72, Jeff Cobb with 59. Here are the updated brackets then. In the final, going to All Out, it will be Pac and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. Backstage, Alicia 2 finds Darby Allin sat in a dark corner. Darby, is it okay if we get a word from you about your actions tonight? Darby Allin gets to his feet with skateboard in hand. Gotta watch Darby with that skateboard in hand. He looks at Alicia 2 and walks off. Got 51. Darby Allin with that groundswell of public support. We're just playing into his strange enigma type character at the moment, being sat in that dark corner as we roll into our next segment. It's the match between Hangman Page and Rey Fenix, and Rey Fenix defeated one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions, Hangman Page. Was he even ready for this match after drinking at the bar over at the Jaguars Stadium? It's a decent match, got a segment rating of 77. Match got the crowd buzzing ahead of the main event, that 6-man tag. But remember last week we saw Kenny Omega overcome Pentagon Jr. This week, Hangman Page just couldn't get the win over Rey Fenix, so it's almost as if it's a draw at the moment. What's going to happen in the match for the titles at All Out? Let's roll into the next segment. After the match, Pentagon Jr. charges down to the ring with steel chair in hand. He slides in and stands alongside Rey Fenix, staring down at Hangman Page, who slowly gets to his feet. Hangman Page doesn't back down from the challenge. Goes in with some cowboy shit and goes straight for both Fenix and Pentagon, fists flying. Page turns his attention to Fenix, and from behind, Pentagon slams the chair across his back. The numbers game taking effect. Hangman looks in pain and is draped over the bottom rope, looking up the entranceway. Similar to last week with Omega. Another chair shot. No Omega. But then, Kenny Omega bursts out of the entranceway, race into the ring. Both Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. decide to bail out. They make their way back up the ramp, indicating their ways that the titles are theirs. Omega puts his hand out to help Page to his feet. Page gets him up himself. Omega is heard saying, "What we doing? Are we good for this match?" Extending his hand. Page is thoughtful, but eventually he sees sense and shakes it. An alright post-match angle. Gets the job done, tells the story. It's like both teams are now on level ground. Kenny Omega got the win last week. Phoenix got the win this week. What's going to happen at All Out? You guys will have to wait and see. As we move into the next segment, Jericho, Santana and Ortiz are preparing for their match, while Sammy Guevara can be heard giving them words of encouragement when Marvez walks into shot. Chris, is it possible to get a quick word from you before your main event match in just a moment? Any word on Tony Khan paying Moxie's bail? Shut your ass, Marvez! Khan can pay Moxie's bail any day of the week for all I care. End of the day, I get a chance to officially become Le Champion once again at All Out. And it will happen, especially when I have these rogues in my corner. So, Chris, you finally admit you lost your title then back at Revolution to Jon Moxley? Chris Jericho has a smirk on his face and says, "Shut your ass, Marvez!" Picks up the stolen AEW World title and walks off with his inner circle. Chris Jericho benefit from having a hot catchphrase. What is that? Shut your ass? Must be. It's disappointing to see that Ortiz struggled because of improvisation. He couldn't do it because no one else was on a script. But he didn't really say anything. He was just there. Maybe I should have put him just down as menace. But anyway, moving into the main event. Oh dear, that's the last thing I needed to see. Chris Jericho sustaining a wrist sprain. Great. Ahead of his title match on the weekend against Moxley. I hope he's not out for long. Oh no, that's not gonna help matters, but we're just gonna have to roll with it. As you can see, that it was a superb match, superb main event. It came to a draw. I didn't want this to have a clean finish because the feuds between all 6 members of this match, it's just got to a point of, boiling point, overflowing, and the match just descended into chaos. We can see that the segment rating was penalised for that injury to Jericho. Standout performers, Nick and Matt Jackson and Jon Moxley, just got 62, so that might have been higher if Jericho didn't sustain that wrist sprain. I really hope he's not out for long, but we move into the next segment to end the go-home show before All Out. The match has been thrown out. It's turned into a wild brawl. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson fight with Santana and Ortiz up to the entranceway, whilst in the ring Jericho is just coming around, getting back to his feet. Moxley slides into the ring with his AEW World Championship belt. He lays it down on the mat as Jericho watches on. Moxley, as quick as anything, kicks Jericho in the gut, hooks his arms and hits him with a paradigm shift onto the title. Jericho rolls off it. Mox picks it up and holds it tight to his chest, finally reunited. Meanwhile, at the entranceway, a table has been set up. Matt Jackson has a chair, swings it at Ortiz, laying him out, and then hits it over the head of Santana. Matt then places Santana onto the table as Nick Jackson climbs on top of the entranceway. Seen this before. After a few seconds of taking in his surroundings, he jumps, hitting a swanton bomb on Santana, and through the table, Jon Moxley, Matt and Nick Jackson stand tall, heading into AEW All Out, and Nick Jackson took a stump bump in this angle. So what a way to cap off this show, the go-home show before All Out. Yes, it got a 53 rating, and we got an overall rating of 72 for this show, which is slightly less than last week's and the week before that. Our best Dynamite has got 76, so it's a bit disappointing for a go-home show as well, going into All Out, but the show increased our popularity in 24 regions. Everything's still okay, but I wonder now how we've done in the TV ratings, the Wednesday Night Wars against NXT. Let's go and find out, shall we? So Chris Jericho, we have confirmed that Jericho has been injured, picking up a wrist sprain while wrestling last night after a botched move from Matt Jackson. It's thought that he'll be looking at a few days to fully heal, but that he will continue to wrestle and not miss any dates, so that's really good news. He will be available for AEW All Out to take on Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. So this week's edition of NXT, they just beat us for show rating, and well, their TV rating achieved a 1.69, had a total of 1.3 million views, whereas for AEW we got a 1.59 with a total of 1.1 million viewers. So NXT beat us again this week, but we are tied. It's 2-2 at the moment in this TEW 2020 series. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Don't forget, the next episode is AEW All Out. Don't miss it.